shot zombie Manny. Spears pulled Sun out and escaped into the tunnel. They opened the gun bag and each held a gun. As they prepare to shoot, sound is heard outside. Spears and Sun quickly hid. The people who came were not others. They were the remaining teammates. Spears and Sun quickly greeted them. Spears helped Rose and Lance sit down together. Sun went to William's side and asked about his foot. William explained that he twisted his foot when he ran away. It was an old injury and it was nothing serious. As everyone was asking each other about the situation, Carmen looked around in the back. There was no trace of Manny. Carmen asked Spears and Sun. They were the three of them who were responsible for stealing weapons. Spears and Sun looked at each other. They didn't take the initiative to say Manny's death. In this silent moment, a zombie's roar came from the outside. They quickly hid in a small room next to them. A group of zombies ran in. They didn't dare to make a sound. They didn't want to attract the zombies' attention. After two zombies ran past, a burst of gunfire sounded. A man in military uniform shouted a word. Then another man's voice came. He told Rose and the others to come out of the room. The place was safe. Spears walked out. There were two people standing in front of him. However, Spears recognized one of them. He was a friend of the soldier Spears killed. Later, the soldier asked about the number of Rose's group. Rose answered honestly. The soldier explained the chaotic state of the city. They keep moving and find a place to rest. Everyone relaxed and adjusted their state. Spears was holding a gun and standing alert. He knew that the two soldiers were coming for him. The soldier told Spears to rest as well. He said that he and his friend would take care of the first shift. Since he had already said that, Spears had to pretend to put down his gun and sit down. The soldier said that they would leave after cleaning up. They could avoid encountering zombies. They could ensure the speed of progress. They planned to reach the stadium by tomorrow morning. The soldiers also explained that the stadium would organize evacuation from tomorrow. 2 hours a batch. A total of 24 hours. Rose curiously asked where the team would arrange to evacuate. The soldiers did not tell the specific location. They said they wanted to evacuate to a deserted place, away from the city center. Where was the safe place? The soldiers also couldn't answer. After they told everyone what they knew, some places had already become black areas. There were no living people, only zombies. The army only had to ensure enough medicine to bomb these areas. Later, the two soldiers turned the topic to Spears. They asked about Spears's companions. Spears didn't have any companions. They actually wanted to ask about the soldier who was responsible for guarding Spears. Spears said bluntly that his companion was dead. He escaped by luck. The soldier learned of his companion's death, and his face changed. They didn't believe what Spears said about escaping by luck. They looked at Spears with anger. The two soldiers understood the situation. Everyone fell into silence. They were all worried about their relatives in their hearts. Sun recited prayers in Korean. Regardless of the language barrier, the prayers deeply penetrated everyone's hearts. Most people's eyes were wet with tears. The soldier didn't say anything. He just waited for the bombing to end. It wasn't long before Rose woke up. Rose yelled for Spears, but no one answered. Rose hurriedly picked up her gun. Rose held her gun and followed the voice. She pushed the door and went out. She ventured forward by the light of a flashlight. In the darkness, her fear grew. Rose breathed feverishly. Soon she saw a big iron pressing down on a zombie. The zombie was not dead, but the big iron restricted its movement. Rose quickly walked past him. She shouted Spears' name. She walked in the direction of the sound she heard. Rose was walking very fast. She saw 3 figures in front of her. She caught up and looked. It was Spears and 2 soldiers. The soldier was holding Spears with his hands behind his back and pressing him forward with his gun. Rose wanted to stop the 3 of them. The 2 soldiers ignored Rose. They continued to press Spears forward. They told Rose that Spears was a very dangerous person. They would take him to a safe place. Then they would come back and join Rose's group. Rose had no choice but to follow the 3 of them. He called Spears' name. But what was going on? Before Spears could speak, the soldier told Rose that Spears was actually their colleague. Spears turned his head and explained to Rose that he was not the person the 2 soldiers said. Rose didn't fully believe him. She asked Spears if he was called Spears. Spears reluctantly denied it. The soldier directly revealed Spears' information. Spears' real name was James. He was a big liar. He was also a murderer. Spears knew that the 2 soldiers were not part of the army. They were stragglers. They were looking for a sum of money. They thought he had a clue to the money. That's why they wanted to arrest him. Everyone has their own reasons. Who should she believe? Should she believe Spears' words or the soldiers? Rose looked at Spears, who was walking in front of him. They looked at each other. And then Rose made a decision. She took out her gun and decisively shot the two soldiers in the head. The operation scared both Spears and Rose. They calmed down a little. The other members of the team had already woken up. They each filled their weapons with bullets. The noise of Rose and Spears' return. The 5 people in the house quickly prepared. They saw that only Rose and Spears came back. They asked about the whereabouts of the soldiers. Rose didn't tell them what happened. Spears simply told them that the 2 of them didn't make it. Then Rose told them to take their weapons and bullets. They were ready to leave. They loaded the ammunition and carried the guns back to the ground. When they looked around and observed the situation, the curly-haired man whistled at the door behind him. Soon a dog ran out of the building and stopped at the curly-haired man's side. The curly-haired man used a belt. The 6 people under him watched them go away. Lance asked loudly where the curly-haired man was going. The curly-haired man didn't seem to answer him. He kept walking away. The curly-haired man's departure didn't have much effect on the 6. They continued their journey through the city center. They saw the towering buildings in front of them. They walked steadily. Before the end of the world, the city center was full of people. How many zombies will there be after the end of the world? After a night of rest, the 6 members of the troop came out of the basement and reached the ground. They had to cross the city center and finally reach the stadium. Rose and Spears walked in front. William and Son were responsible for both sides. Carmen and Lance followed behind. They held their weapons and kept their formations slowly. At the same time, other survivors also emerged from different directions. They headed towards the city center. On the empty street, a zombie ran towards the survivors. They all fired. The sound of gunfire rang out continuously. The zombie was shot and was completely dead. Then another zombie ran out. But their fate was the same as the first. They fell under the gunfire of the people. It seemed that the more people, the stronger. They soon solved the zombie problem. Spears asked the 5 people in the team to continue. Carmen seemed to be having trouble. She did not respond to Spears' shout. She did not move at all. She clutched her chest. Then she vomited blood. Turns out she got hit in the chest while attacking the zombies. It turns out that more people is not a good thing. Carmen's condition made the survivors around her panic. They all consciously moved away from Carmen. The 5 people in the team also retreated and opened the distance. After a while, Carmen turned into a zombie. She pounced on the team members. Fortunately, everyone retreated quickly. Carmen started attacking strangers. At the same time, zombies were also running around from all directions. The survivors were caught off guard and were knocked down one by one. This caused more and more zombies to appear. The once neat team of survivors was thrown into chaos. They had to dodge many zombies. They all fled in different directions. The group was forced to split up. On one side, Spears brought Son and Lance along with the crowd. They climbed up the stairs. They arrived at the square in front of the office building. Not only did they have to dodge zombie attacks, they also had to watch out for bullets from the survivors who were shooting blindly. They didn't know if they would be unlucky. They will be wounded by human bullets. The scene was also chaotic, with survivors and zombies everywhere. There were bullets flying everywhere. Spears and his 3 companions didn't dare to run around. They could only lean carefully on the stone pillars at the entrance of the office building and move forward occasionally. They killed 3 or 4 zombies along the way. They avoided several waves of people. Spears, Son, and Lance managed to reach the other end of the office building. Spears quietly observed the situation. He thought the situation was safe. He ran through the crowd of people and reached a small street. Son also took the opportunity and ran after him. Since zombies suddenly appeared, Lance had to focus on killing the zombies in front of him. After he finished, he was blocked by the crowd. He had a better chance to rush over. Seeing his situation so chaotic, Lance didn't dare to stay in place. He ran around the other side of the office building. He ran away from Spears and Son. Seeing Lance running away, Spears and Son could only continue forward. Spears was responsible for clearing the zombies that came up. On the other side, Rose rushed to the front. William's foot injury. He barely followed Rose's speed, struggling to move forward. Even so, he still lagged behind Rose. He dodged while. When William solved the zombie hiding behind the wall, the bomb dropped by the bomber caused a big explosion. The strong airwave knocked William down directly. William was stunned. He fell to the ground. He couldn't get up for a long time. A burst of smoke came. William, who was not awake, heard a shout. It turned out that the group running in front of him found William's situation. She ran back and helped William up. She went forward with William. Lance's situation was not very good either. He ran all the way, but he bumped into a man at the corner. The rifle in his hand also fell to the ground. Lance wanted to pick up the rifle, but the man also wanted to get it. He was a step slower, letting the man get the gun. The man got the gun and naturally refused to give in. After all, the gun was an important tool for saving lives. The man raised his gun and threatened Lance. Lance immediately raised his hands, indicating that he gave up. He didn't want to fight with the man. Just as Lance was about to leave, the man was knocked down by a zombie behind him. The gun fell to the ground again. And there were more zombies running towards this side with their teeth and claws. Lance didn't care about picking up the gun. He ran forward. Gradually, there was a large group of zombies behind Lance. He also took advantage of the cars on the side of the road and skillfully outwitted the zombies behind him. Lance ran. A big smoke behind him also appeared. Lance stumbled. He couldn't stay still, so he stood up and ran again. Spears and Sun killed zombies that appeared along the way. They climbed the stairs to the overpass. When Spears asked Sun about the whereabouts of the others, William and Rose also came to the overpass from the other direction. They managed to meet up. Due to William's leg injury, Spears let the three of them go first. He stayed behind to escort them from behind. Spears struggled with the oncoming zombies. He was still caught by a zombie soldier. He saw the zombie's big mouth. Spears forcefully choked the zombie's neck. He couldn't bite Spears. Under the fight, Spears took the opportunity to pull out the pistol from his back. He shot the zombie's head twice. The number of zombies was too many. He solved one and more zombies came out on the stairs. Spears couldn't resist and had to retreat. Spears quickly caught up with Rose and the others. At this time, William's injury was very serious. He couldn't walk by himself. Rose and Sun dragged him and couldn't walk fast. This would only drag everyone down. William knew it. He begged Rose to kill him. William's request made Rose hesitate. He was a teammate who shared the same hardships. Seeing that the zombie group behind him was about to catch up, Rose finally got up the courage and gave William a shot. She ended his life. Rose ran ahead. They blocked the group of zombies with an iron fence held in place by a gun. They walked along the stairs to the center of the stadium. They looked all over the stadium. They didn't find anyone. Suddenly, at the opposite exit, a man with a gun came out. Rose and the others were immediately alert. They held their weapons and looked at each other. They observed carefully. They finally confirmed each other's human identity. Slowly, they put down their weapons. A little girl came out from behind the man. The girl walked down the stairs step by step. Rose looked at the girl's figure. She showed various expressions. She recognized the identity of the girl. She was her daughter, Anna. Anna also recognized her mother, Rose. She ran towards Rose with a smile. Rose's mission to find her daughter was finally complete, and the movie ends.